Hello, my name is Misha Sharif, and you're watching Decoding Careers, where I talk to professionals about their careers. Today we have Hala Halabi, who works as a social worker for ICNA Relief. Now, here is some information about social working, or being a social worker. On average, the annual salary for a social worker ranges from about $35,000 to $60,000 a year, but it mainly depends on who and where you work. You will also need at least a bachelor's degree in social working or a BSW, but you can always further your education to a doctorate in social working. But in general, it will take about 4 years total. So, Sister Hala, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you, Michelle?
I'm doing great, alhamdulillah. And I was just researching a lot about social workers, and we were talking a little bit earlier. You had mentioned how social working is really important nowadays, and I just want to know what do you think are three words that best describe your profession and why?
Personally, yeah, my work like as a social worker is so there is two type of social work, something they call like micro social work and macro social work. So micro social work, when you work one-on-one with clients, like closely, how if you're my client, I'm working directly with you, like if you are doing a case management one-on-one with the client, or like as counselor, therapist, that's all like micro. But when we're talking about macro, that when you work on organizational level or community level, that you want to improve your community, so you're working on a bigger scale, a bigger like project. So personally, I work on both. I do work on one-on-one with client as micro, and at the same time I do, and I start a lot of projects on a macro level to improve the community and my organization. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of organization, and I guess there are two really different and diverse fields of this. I had talked about this earlier when I had mentioned a BSW, but in your words, could you describe to me what educational background is required for your profession?
Okay, so again, when we're talking about like bachelor in social work, this is the bachelor in social work, that just like the 4 years undergrad. But when you want to advance your work and you go to do your master in social work, you have to pick one of like four different, let's say, field, or like, areas of work. You can pick between family and children. This is one. Aging, when you work with older people, when like you work with substance abuse and mental health. This is one. And the fourth, it's like they call it CAP, that's community administrative practice, when you work on as I said, like to improve the community at large, not just one-on-one. So what it need to be a social worker, as you mentioned earlier, you have to have your bachelor in social work to be called social worker, or to have a master. So the master in social work. After that, you can be licensed social worker. So after you finish your 2 years with the master, there is something called a license. So there is a book that you have to study, and there a professional official exam that you have to pass to be licensed social worker. So as I said, like levels, but yeah.
Okay, so that kind of answers the second question, which was, are there any special certifications or trainings required for this job? Do you want to expand more on that thought about the training?
Yes. So as I mentioned, when you do your master, you need to pick one of these four, what do you call, we call it advanced, in the advanced year. So you have to pick one of those four different topic or field. So for example, my assistant, her master and her focus is family and children. So she can focus more like working as a counselor at the school. She can be, let's say, work at the CPS, like, or something like that. For me, I would like to work like as CAP, the community administrative. So you need to focus and you do your advanced year at CAP, the community administrative. But again, even when you pick one of these four, you still can do a certificate in the other one. So for example, if I want to be in CAP, the community administrative practice, I still can do another certificate during my master time with another field like family and children or aging or mental health. The issue now, if you, for example, you decide to be a counselor, after you finish your 2 years and after you take also to be a licensed social worker, you still have to do 3,000 supervised hour to be a professional counselor. So there is levels. It depends on where you want to focus on. It's I think the longest route is to be a counselor, after a certified therapist. So you need to, after you finish all these license and everything still have to do the 3,000 hour of supervised counseling to be certified counselors. So yes.
Okay, thank you so much for that insight. And we kind of just talked about the education, all the work that gets put behind the actual job. Now let's kind of talk about the job itself. And I want to start that off by asking you to describe to me a typical day in the life of a social worker.
Yeah, I mean, it's to be honest with you, there is not a day similar to the day before. It's just like, sometimes you don't expect what's gonna happen because we work with people, right? So when you go to the office, you don't know who's gonna come to your office and what type of problem they're gonna come with. So mainly I work with refugees, right? So refugees, they have so many different things. Sometimes they come to my office, they need furniture. Sometimes they need food. Sometimes they are looking for a job. Sometimes they're looking for a car. So like, as I'm saying, different thing. And also I'm in charge of a shelter home. So I work with homeless sister. So homeless sister, when they come to our home, they come with a big bag of of problems with them. So we need to solve these problems one by one. First, if she's looking for a job, we need to find her a job. And then if she needs to open a bank account, and then learn the language, and then these and that. So there is, as I said, there is not similar days. We work with clients, different requirement, different needs on a daily basis. So yeah, I mean, we also, for me, because I work as a national director and I handle a lot of other offices nationwide. For me, currently, I'm spending a lot of time meeting with my team nationwide to just check on each office what they're doing. So a lot of meetings, a lot of trainings, a lot of follow-up as a managerial level. But as a regular social worker, if I'm explaining my assistant day of work, she's with client all day long, either dropping furniture. For example, today she spent 5 hours registering Afghan refugee at school kids. Yesterday she was with the parents for ESL classes. So yeah, serving clients and different needs.
So like you just said, you serve a lot of different needs and you have lots of clients and you help refugees, which is a very important aspect in the community. And from this, I want to know, what do you think are the 3 most important skills you should have as a social worker?
Okay, so you have to with a social worker, you have to be you have to have the cultural competencies. That you have to learn about other cultures, because as a social worker, you're gonna get people from all around the world, from different social levels, from different background, from different ethnicity. You have to have these first most important things. You have to know about other cultures. You have to learn, you have to educate yourself about that. So you don't be biased, or you don't prejudge people, or like you have these, like, it is really, really important as a social worker to understand other culture. As a social worker, you have to be patient, patient. Again, as I'm saying, you have people coming with so different like needs and different like mental issues and different like, and sometimes literally they drive you crazy. So you have to be patient. So that the second skill I'm telling you. And then you have to be also aware of the resources in the community, because you are a human being, you're like one person, you won't be able to help like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people. But when you know where is the resources in the community, if that person needs food, where is the closest food pantry? If he needs a medical assistant, where is the free clinic that I send him to? So you have to educate yourself with the resources that is available. So again, cultural competency, you have to have, knowledge about the other cultures, be patient. And then there's a lot of other skills, but I'm just telling you that what we need the most, like currently, you have to be aware of the resources that's around you.
Definitely. And you are helping a lot of people. So I'm sure it takes a lot from you. Earlier, when we had tried to schedule the interview and go through with it, you did have to leave abruptly. And this kind of like begs the question of what are some challenges that come with your profession?
As social worker, the hardest part is sometimes you cannot make I don't know how to explain it, but like you disconnect yourself from the work, so this is the hardest part. Like these cases, it's like it's in your brain, in your heart, in like wherever you go, you keep thinking about those people. This is the hardest, most challenging thing, that you disconnect yourself from work and give yourself a break, like it's me time. And as a social worker, you don't know when people are going to call you. Literally, sometimes I receive call like 2:00 after midnight from refugees. They're like just arrived to the state, right? A lot of things they don't know. If they have an emergency, sometimes they don't know how to react. If they run out of food, they don't know how to get to. So this is the most challenging part of social workers, that clients, they depend on you. My job is to help people, but like literally at the very beginning when I started working, it was like really, really tiring me mentally and physically, because I am in and with 24/7. So
Yeah.
sometimes now you have to it's okay for now, I'm done for today, I'll take care of this case tomorrow. So it's so challenging, sometimes, because it can
It can be really like a lot, and I'm sure the hours are really sporadic. And when thinking of hours, it also kind of begs of your personal life, because you are working a lot and you're dedicating your entire day to these people. So how do you balance your personal life with your work life?
honestly, sometimes it's so hard. Give you an example. This past weekend, I was working Saturday, I was working Sunday, and even Monday it was a President Day, so the office supposed to be closed, but still I was working. So again, sometimes it's hard. It is hard, because like meetings and working with, because as a social worker, you're working with your clients. Again, you're working with your co-workers, you're working with other agencies, you're working with the community, working with donors, working with volunteers. So there is so many different people that you're working with, and each person has a different time and availability. So you need to accommodate every person. You need to accommodate your volunteer, you need to accommodate your donor, you need to accommodate other people when they ask you about they need you. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know how to answer this question, how to balance. Sometimes personally, sometimes I can balance, sometimes I cannot. It depends, but The only thing I feel like what I'm trying to do to myself now, I go to the gym three days per week, and I attend a class that I'm in the class. I won't be able to take a phone call or something. So just like, give this hour to myself that I'm disconnected, and just to recharge so I can, go and give back, because it's like literally like burning. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like having that one like small time, even if it's just a little bit, having that dedicated to yourself really just helps melt the stress away. And I really, really like that aspect of kind of just having that like small time to yourself and to reflect about your day. Now, this is the most important question, in my opinion, in the entire interview. And to all the viewers, please make sure you're paying attention to this one question. And the question is, what advice would you give to a high schooler who's trying to become a social worker?
The first advice, if you want to be a social worker as high schoolers, literally from like, from my experience, you are on the right path. And you are so smart to pick this type of job because, again, there is a shortage. We need social workers. You are needed in so many different like field. As I said, you can be social worker in the hospital. You can be social worker in the prison. You can be social worker in the in the school. You can be social worker in the CPS. You can be, so social worker is like, it is needed everywhere. And it's not somehow, it's not like something, it's exactly one thing that you have to do. Like if you are like engineer, this is the only thing that you're doing, or like, or like, no, this is social worker. There's a lot of like different opportunities for you. For example, for myself, when I'm talking about CAP, like community administrative practice, when you are a community administrative practice that you're looking to be a CEO, for example, and you are able to start a project that advance your community, advance the whole society. You can be the advocate. You have to, I mean, as social worker, part of your job is to be advocate for those people, to try to change policies, to advance the social justice, right? So an advice, I'm telling you, this is the smartest choice if you are picking right now to be a social worker. If you like medical field, you can be social worker in the medical field. If you like kids, you can be social worker for the kids. So what I'm saying, even if you like law and like, legal things, you can be in that field. So that's what's good about like social work, that you have to be, you have a lot of like different opportunities, and it is needed right now. We need a lot of social workers to support and help. Because again, as a social worker, like when helping a client and sometimes like, try to advance the social justice in the community, you're preventing a crisis happen. You are trying to protect your community from like, from the worst. So this is what good about social work.
Definitely. Yeah. I think like being a social worker is really versatile, and you can really mold it to your interest. Like if you want to be a social worker, but you also really like law, or you really like children, like you were saying, you can definitely mold it to yourself. And I think that the advice you had just given was really good and really insightful. Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for this interview. Everyone, this is Hala Halabi. She works for ICNA Relief. You're the director for social working in ICNA Relief. I'm correct?
I'm the National Director for Refugee Services, and I'm the National Assistant Director for Muslim Family Services.
Okay.
And also I'm the director for the Women Transition Home here in Dallas.
So she is all of these really important positions, and alhamdulillah, I've seen her like make lots of changes. ICNA is a really prominent nonprofit in our community, and it has done lots of things to help lots of people. She's an outstanding woman, and she works many different positions. Thank you so much for being here and agreeing to this interview.
It was my pleasure, Misha. I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so proud of you, like making this type of work. You've been working with ICNRelief, doing a lot of volunteer work. We depend on you guys. We're just planting these seeds for you to grow it. And we are waiting for you to, take over.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Misha. Good luck, dear.